Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Boss Rush. Here we are on July 17th, 2026. Mark decided to shut the light off there because he thought it was Boss Rush After Dark. That is not what it is. We are Boss Rush, freaking jet lagged and in the middle of the day and dealing with the heat and dealing with and the smoke here on the East Coast. My name is Chris Melisius, and I should mention, joining us today are my co-host, Mr. Dean Takahashi and Mr. Mark Delora. And Susan is unable to join us today. She is just getting back from the Develop Conference and a little exhausted. So, it's just going to be us holding it down here today and getting a chat with you all about game industry news of the week. And I know, Mark, you have a stop time about halfway through here. So
I do. I apologize. It's chaos in my world.
No, that's
good chaos,
Yeah.
Good chaos.
Well, then let's kick it off as we always do. How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? Mark's got a little bit of chaos, so why don't you continue and tell us what's going on in your chaotic world there, buddy.
Busy, man. For GDC, we did the call for submissions. So if you want to come speak at GDC next year, which is in March in San Francisco, make sure to go to the site and submit a talk.
Yeah.
We need all the smart people in the industry to share info with each other so we all get better together, faster.
It is a better together story for sure. Yeah. And maybe you can pop the link to submission, and there is a position that you are all hiring for right now, right?
Yeah, I am looking for a conference director for GDC.
Oh, wow.
So this was Ashley Corrigan's role.
Right.
And she left a little bit ago, and I've been spending some time thinking about how that role works and rewrote the job description, and we just posted it up. We're looking for a smart events person who understands the game industry, or a smart game industry person who
wants to learn events.
More about events. We're open to everything.
That's awesome.
Lead the team, work with me.
Yeah, this is a huge opportunity to go ahead and lean in and help continue to guide and grow the longest running and one of the most important conferences we have in the industry. So
biggest conference for game developers.
Yeah, absolutely. So please go ahead and pop that into the chat there, Mark, so we can make sure that we
Yeah, the second most important event as well, GamesBeat next is coming on November 2nd and 3rd. And since we're not as organized as Mark, we are still getting our speakers for that event.
That's right. And what I meant to say, Dean, was not to denigrate any particular conference, but the fact that GDC has been running for so long, right? So yes, of course, and we have a wonderful collection of curated conferences that are super important to the health of our industry. The GamesBeat conferences included, of course. So,
and I love GamesBeat too.
Yeah,
always,
me too.
Thank you. Yeah, always constantly recruiting speakers these days, all around the year.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad you're able to join here for a little while, Mark. And hey, everybody, as we go through the live stream today, with any news stories, things like that, do you want to go ahead and pop into the chat? We would love to hear from you, so please go ahead and do so. And Dean, and how about you, buddy? How are you doing? I think you said last week things were slowing down a little bit. There's a little bit of a lull for you on the conference circuit now, but which is going to ramp up right after the summer here. So tell us what you're up to as well.
It's been a busy week. A lot of news still. In fact, more today from Xbox. Between yesterday and today, it sounds like the message they're sending out after announcing the 3,200 layoffs last week. Now they're kind of saying we're not canceling anything. So it's a little puzzling in some ways that they're at the Doom studio, they're still saying we're working on a Doom game, and we are not abandoning the IdTech game engine.
Really?
Yeah. And so they're just doing it with half the people.
Oof.
And
Well,
then Bethesda also put out a long statement today from Todd Howard, and uh, also said that everything that you think is in the works is still in the works. I think the only thing they did not mention was sort of the fate of Avowed 2, which is what Obsidian Studio was working on.
yeah.
And,
Oh,
they had 25% layoffs at Obsidian. I think they the last word from like Jason Schreier on that was that they canceled it, and then they put a skeleton team back on it, and it will have another chance to pitch itself later. Uh, but there are apparently are still people working on Avowed 2, although a much smaller group. And then what they are doing instead is switching over to a brand new Fallout game. So they're joining the Fallout fold at Bethesda, and Bethesda itself acknowledged a bunch of new things that you think are in the works are really in the works. So Fallout 5, they describe that as in a state of pre-production, and everybody expects that from them. Still lots of work on Elder Scrolls 6, despite ZeniMax Online layoffs that happened, and also Fallout New Vegas as a remake, Fallout 3 as a remake still going. So it's a little hard, and they're still working on Starfield, and so there's a lot of speculation after the large layoffs at Bethesda that they'd have to give up something as well, and it may be the only thing they're giving up at the moment is Avowed 2.
so okay, that whole rundown there buries the lead a little bit in that. Okay, if you're going to not cancel anything, but there are more people gone, then something has to give, right? Or there's a lot of massive speculation that comes around that, which, we don't know, right? And so we're not going to dig into that, but does that mean you're calling back some of the features, right? Some of the games. Are there new efficiencies that are now happening in the studios? Is some of this going to be leaning into the expertise of the new management team at Xbox to help, offset those things? Are time slipping, right? All those things. So
Co-development.
Right. Yeah. So I appreciate too them continuing to come out and trying to, and not trying to, they are communicating and trying to get some markers of where they're headed there. And I think it's still too early, right, to draw any of those conclusions. But right, that's just firing in the back of my brain of okay.
I add one more thing on co-development, which Asha Sharma did mention kind of in her statement last week, which was that they're going to cut their vendors by 50%, and so they're going to do more work in-house. But by vendors, I take that to mean the co-development studios, the external development companies that are helping them, ship their games out. And what that means is not entirely clear, but for sure, lots of jobs are being lost at those companies now. I think because of this big change. I mean, there are some studios for sure that are totally dedicated to Microsoft games, and I know of at least one that's basically shutting. But I expect that, and it's a little strange to see that happen at a time when they're trying to cut a lot of costs, and it almost seems like there's a shift back to reliance on internal development. I think that's why some people thought there'd be more support studio roles, sort of having studios reassigned to work on bigger core projects, right? But they didn't really say that today. They didn't say anything about that. And the outside developers are often a lot cheaper, right? So
Yep.
so this is kind of counterintuitive in multiple ways.
Yeah. I wonder if it's just a work in process still. It does. My initial reaction, I think, is it sounds like the same as yours, which was same number of games, fewer people, fewer vendors. Those three things are hard to put in the same triangle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we're either
Yeah,
missing something,
and when
or
we say, oh yeah, I'm sorry, and we say it's a work in progress too.
yeah,
I mean, it's been what, 3 months?
I know, right? Yeah,
So
it's not like they don't owe us they don't have to tell us everything.
Sure,
we're just rooting for them, and we're trying to figure out what they're doing.
We are.
And we know they need to get their business sorted out.
And,
wish all the folks at Xbox the best.
I think they are trying to control player expectations and also contain any player revolt about anything, right?
Yeah.
So so they normally would not announce that a game like Fallout 5 was in a certain stage, like pre-production, right? They just wouldn't say that. So they are being more transparent than usual. So I give them credit for that. But this level of transparency always raises a lot of questions as well, and so you wind up with just as many questions.
Right. And the thing is, the real truth is, we're not going to know until we know, right?
Yep.
So,
exactly.
as a regular friend of the live streamer, Michael Fitch, hey buddy, how are you? Says, Elder Scrolls 6 now launches in 2035. and our other friend there, Rick Velez, hey buddy, says, let's watch out for our friends in the code dev spaces, right? Of course.
Yeah.
So it's it's pretty interesting. Rick also asked us here, hey, what are your guys' thoughts on the rumors surrounding whether or not the Xbox will have a disk drive? The next one, right?
Mine doesn't. No.
I think they're Sony took so much heat and flack over the decision to phase out physical discs by January 2028. I think that that means that the next machine coming from them is probably not going to have one. They didn't, I guess Sony did not say anything about whether you could plug in a third-party disk drive into this new machine. And I think also Xbox has not said that either, right? But it does sound like they do have kind of like different solutions in the works. There's a leak now this week that they're gonna have an optical drive, but are they going to make it? Are they going to include it in the machine? Or is it something you could just plug in from a third party?
Yeah.
And then they have this other solution of taking your physical discs and giving you a digital version of them to credit you for the fact that you bought this game.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, we all know, right? The old adage, right? If it's not in the box, it's not in the box, right? It's always difficult, right, to get a peripheral and to have devs move towards that. But here's what I do find really interesting. I don't know if you guys have noticed this too. Anybody else listening here is I'm seeing more videos pop up on like YouTube of companies, of people going, hey, this company just released a brand new CD-ROM player or a CD player and a new DVD player and like some really big brands that have done this and released like $300 CD players into the market now because they're seeing this market rise of CD purchases, right? And DVD purchases, right? So we're in this weird space where everything rotated so heavily, not just in video games, but just in the world rotated to, it's going to be, ephemeral and it's going to just sit out there in the ether. You're going to be able to pull it down. And there's this accelerating cohort that's like, no, I want this stuff on my shelf. I want to actually own these things now. And we're starting to see manufacturers lean into that again, right? Like it's
It's curious,
right?
Part of me thinks it's the same people who are buying vinyl, but I do understand desire to own a thing and to be able to come back to it 5 or 10 years from now. And
Mhm.
there hasn't been. I mean, the game industry. If Sony said, we're not going to have a drive in PS6, but here's a pathway, for you to continue to play the game 10 years from now after we, end of life it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then maybe those are two messages that'd be nice to do at the same time.
Yeah.
Agreed. I was
Mhm.
going to say, Dean, real quick. I remember,
Mhm.
back in the very early days of Steam, and I do want to go back and read the EULA there. My understanding, and you all correct me if my memory's fuzzy on this. Like I said, I've got 2 hours of sleep and just got off a red-eye from Seattle to get in here to get all this together. So I'm amazed, like everything is working. I believe there was something in the user agreement that was like, if Valve ever shuts down Steam, they will provide the keys to all the games that you bought. So when you do those downloads, you will have the keys to be able to activate them outside of the Steam storefront, which at the time, if thinking about this correctly, made me feel really good about the fact that, okay, yeah, it's this new world. This is the way you have to purchase things. And if it ever goes away, I can still use the things that I bought, right? Again, memory gets fuzzier, right? The further away we get from the early days of that. But I do want to go back. I'm actually going to take a note now to check that you.
Yeah, that would have been a good play. That definitely would have been a smart thing to do at the time, as they were trying to convince people to move digital, as a stopgap.
Yeah. And if anyone listening wants to go ahead and check that, please go ahead and do that. Right? Check that Steam.
I think
that
there's certain things that are kind of decisions that players are sort of faced with. I guess I've been downloading games forever now.
Yeah.
And the only challenge is just not having enough space on your machine, right? So it's nice to have physical discs, but do I want the machine to cost more when it comes out in the next generation because it has an optical disc on it? I would say, given the price of memory, it's going to cost more. And if you put in an optical drive in it as well, I don't need that as a player, right? And so I'm not a fan of having that in place of more memory or something like that, right? It's always some kind of trade-off that's going to happen here.
Yeah.
And yet there's a lot. I think we discovered that, say, maybe in the 10 or 20% of people who are still buying discs, there's a lot of people who are very sort of reliant on physical discs. Like they don't have broadband, right? They have to buy something physical, and they also are just fans of the media, and like they're retro fans, or they just have this attachment, and they're really not happy about, say, buying a key, a key in like a digital key inside a box, right? They'd rather have the disc. So it's very different demographic that plays video games. It's a wider demographic than we know, I guess, right?
Well, Dean, look, all these spoiled gamers, I remember there was a time when there were companies that made physical keys that you used to have to plug into the serial port or the parallel port on the back of your PC that would authenticate the game you had. I mean, literally a physical dongle that you had to plug into your machine.
Yeah. I wonder, Dean, you're making me think about, I was at Sony during the PS3 bring up, and it was an issue with PS3 that we really wanted to have the Blu-ray player in it, but the Blu-ray technology was still a little early and a little expensive. So that made the box more expensive. Now we've got Blu-ray discs that are 4 layers, like 100 gigs, but maybe they've gone past that. But what would be the technology beyond that? Like if we move to the next generation of machines that are more capable and require more space for a game, what is the medium that we can store them on? I'm just not aware of another disc kind of technology that you could, print and then buy in the store. And is that part of the problem? Just that doesn't exist or would be really expensive because we're off the cycle?
We have to go back to that Silicon Valley HBO show, right? And their big product was compression.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
That show. That show hit too close to home in too many ways. And the worst for me, and I'll say it again, I know I said it before, they had Sun Microsystems racks in their garage. I was like, oh, you all suck. How dare you? Oh man. Yeah. It's crazy, but I do.
Sorry,
I know. Go ahead, Dean.
Oh, there was still other news related to Microsoft this week that we didn't really hit too much. But like the unions, came out in force and did protests, right? That ZeniMax, but and also id Software,
right. Yeah,
some of the information. Rachel Kaser, one of our writers in Dallas, went to id and interviewed some people, and did sort of interviews that still raise questions. I think there seemed to be something like 8 or so people at id Tech running the game engine in Dallas, right? And then 7 of them are gone. And 6 of the 12 Frankfurt, Germany developers were also on the engine team, and they were laid off. So half of Frankfurt is gone. But I think the thing that maybe people who said early that there's no way they can keep this engine going, we're not aware of another team at Machine Games in Sweden, right? And so Machine Games makes the Wolfenstein games, which are part of the whole id Software family. They also made the Indiana Jones game, right? And so it seems like some of the staff has shifted to that side, and that I think that's what Hugo Martin, the game director, was referring to when he did his own video reacting to the rumors that id had been nerfed into the ground. And he's saying we're still in business. Basically, we're still able to work on this thing. So again, it's with a lot fewer people. That's half of the team we know of that is gone. I don't think Machine Games got hit with any layoffs. So it's just kind of unclear how many engine workers are there. But there's this conflicting information still coming and going.
Yeah, Dean, I was reading an article that popped up. I apologize if it was on GamesBeat or not. I can't seem to find it right now, where somebody said the messaging coming out is like basically stretched to the breaking point of reality, right? Like, oh no, we're not going to be able to, we're going to miss a beat or anything there. And so, and again, right, you have to take all this with a grain of salt. We don't know who's making, those comments and where they are in this. Like I said, we don't know until we know. But look, we want these companies to survive and continue making great games and build on their legacies. So, we'll just keep on bringing it up as we get that information. I know, Mark, you have to leave in just a few, right?
I do.
Okay, so before you go, I want to share 2 things we did that I would normally say for the end of the show, but I want to go ahead and get this up here for you. There were 2 things that popped up for me. The first is my good friend Tristan Greaves over here at AWS used Kiro to basically reconstitute a Commodore 64 bulletin board set of code and has now stood back up CompuNet.
What?
And you can connect to it through a Petsky 2 terminal, through the new C64 Ultimate, which allows you to connect the C64 to the network, right? Or just a terminal emulator. Wow. And it is so freaking cool. And one of the amazing, you can just go ahead and sign up there. It's at compunet.live. I think they have more than 100 like games and stuff like that from the C64 era that's there. They've got a mail system hooked in. They've got all of they basically just went ahead and rebuilt all of this. And again, he used some AI tools to help basically break that code back down and then connect it to modern systems. This is a trend that I'm so happy to see.
Love this.
Right?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, when I was on my way to Helsinki for Games First, I downloaded a terminal emulator for my iPad and was sitting at the airport connecting to this. And then I basically turned on the right fonts and everything else and then had it simulate 2400 baud. And so I was watching the screen paint while I was logging, and I was so freaking happy to see this. Seriously. So there's all different ways for you to connect. You can use Vice or the 664 Ultimate. He's created a virtual cartridge that you just attach and it boots. A real C64 with SwiftLink or a Petsky 2 terminal. Right, so that is just freaking amazing.
Way to go!
Yes, Tristan he is doing the work. He is doing the work for everybody. He gets all of those, and even a Zelda power up too. And then the other one is, and I didn't even know this was coming out, but there's this these documentarians that Cult Repo, where they do these deep dive. Kind of stories about operating systems, right? And computer languages. And this is launching today. It is the story of Java and how it was created.
Wow.
And they brought together like this incredible panel of innovators and computer scientists, and it's, I mean, I know. I can't help it. I spent 16 years at that company. It made me like literally tear up listening to them talk. It's, you know, it's one of those things where I was there when it was Oak, and then first person happened, and then it became Java, and watching the trajectory happen was just the most extraordinary thing. So yeah, I figured I'd get these out of the way before you had to jump off. So yeah,
you're just reminding me. I've heard that in my earphones that the call I have to jump to has already started up. But if you haven't seen, I'm seeing this on X, on Twitter, right? There are people who are taking games like Command and Conquer, older games, and using the tools to port them over to run on new platforms, and they just keep showing up in my feed one after another. I'm like, this is great. Like, you want to use AI for something, that's a great use case. Like
100%, 100. That is exactly where we're going. I think get some of the greatest impact. Right, is helping to reconstitute these things and preserve this. As somebody who works in preservation, hell yes, all day long. Let's do this, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go pop the link down here into the chat there. But Mark, thanks, buddy, for
Yep. Sorry, I have to bounce. I'm wrestling my schedule a lot lately.
I know. There's a ton going on for you, and we'll keep those links live, and we'll funnel people over to you, buddy. So
nice to see you, Mark. Both. Nice to see you, Dean. Nice to see you, Chris.
It's great to see you too.
Have a good Friday.
All right. Thanks, gang. All right. See you, Mark. All right. Okay, Dean. What is next up out of your big brain?
I don't know. Let's see. Well, the extraordinarily busy news season still going on. I had fun with a small story, which, that game company had an announcement today about its launching this Dear Van Gogh, basically a season inside Sky Children of the Light. And it's focused on Vincent Van Gogh, the artist, and his struggles with mental health issues. I mean, he committed suicide at age 37 and felt like his work, had made no impact on the world. And through this story, you find that his brother was always writing letters to him to encourage him to continue his work and painting. And his brother was also financing him, basically giving him the money to continue doing this art. And he believed he was a great artist, but even like 6 months or so after his death, his brother passed away, kind of partly out of grief too. And then his brother's wife kept all the paintings, right? And she, over 20 years, tried to get different shows to show the art, and then finally became successful after a couple of decades. And it was because of her work as well that his paintings were preserved. Like, they might have gone up in some kind of old style garage sale otherwise. Right? Yeah. It's kind of a very touching story.
A couple of years. So first of all, cheers to Genova Chen. I mean, Genova really, the work that he's done throughout his career has really been about connecting people to emotion and story and humanity. And, that games company, that's kind of the hallmark of the type of games that they've created. Several years ago, my wife and I went to see the Van Gogh exhibition in Washington, D.C., where they had projectors that would basically paint the entire room with Van Gogh's works, and they would morph into other things, into each other. And then, like in Starry Night, and I forget the other piece where it's at the water's edge, all of a sudden the water flowed out of the painting onto the floor that you're standing in, and you were standing basically in the middle of this running water. Is really incredible. And we forget that when we think about a very famous work like Starry Night, Starry Night was painted by him, looking out of the window of an asylum that he was in. That twisted, bending kind of the landscape is him filtering that world through, right? His mental illness and stuff. And so it really is super important when we're exploring art that, we don't look at on its surface. Is we have to understand its intent underneath. And it's the same thing, I believe, with, our medium, which demands your attention. It is not a cursory or casual sort of observation of video games, right? And so I love this. I'm really looking forward to playing that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's amazing work, and I saw videos of Genova, visiting. I think it was a museum in the Netherlands, dedicated to Van Gogh, right? And very very dedicated, focus on bringing something to life inside a game that really is about mental health, but is also kind of just becoming more of a platform for the creativity of Genova and his team. Because Van Gogh doesn't really have anything to do with the story of Sky, Children of the Light, right? but they decide this is our latest season, right?
I love that. I love it. Well, speaking of games that we have to spend a lot of time and digging into, you had another, or your team by Jolie Field had a story up here. GTA 6 pre-orders point to record-breaking launch week.
Yeah. I was going to bring that one up too. It's $180 million worth of pre-orders on digital in the U.S. and an estimated 260 million around the world. And to them, coming out this early, Newzoo estimates that this means that GTA 6, when it launches on November 19th this year, is going to be something like a $3.3 billion to $5.2 billion first week.
My God.
So
it's
just like the pattern of pre-orders is what they're looking at, and this far ahead, people sort of giving Take-Two all that money already. It's interesting.
Now we know why it's a offline game only at launch. Could you imagine all of those players trying to jump in and just swapping server capacity at that massive, scale with that massive amount of assets globally all at the same time. Like that's, I would imagine, I don't have any inside information on any of this. I would imagine that had to be part of their consideration of, we need to get this out in the hands of everybody first, then we can
and it's
tackle
also
that, right?
it's also only launching on PlayStation and Xbox. It's not going to be on a PC in the fall.
Yes.
Right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've already pre-ordered, and then my son is actually going to be bringing his Xbox home in the fall because he's going to be he's in a study program with school where he won't be able to have his Xbox. He'll be studying abroad, and so I'm like, great, then I don't need to go buy the second one. Just bring it home. He's like, well, if it's online, don't play online and like crater my like scores of reputation, Dad. I'm like, no, it's all offline, buddy. So you don't have to worry about my terrible game playing skills, damaging your rep. So
well, you gotta believe that they will have an updated version of GTA Online, right? And just how soon that comes is just another thing that they have dropped no hints about.
They don't need to. Like, let's let them get past this launch that everybody, is building against. And then you had another really interesting article that came out about Roblox and what Roblox is doing. With Roblox Build enables creators to build one-shot mobile games with AI, but will it go beyond slop? Can you tell us a little bit more about the interview you did?
Yeah, I think the one-shot part is maybe slightly misleading there because they are going to
Dean, we call that provocative.
Yeah, they're going to encourage people to sort of review and then redo those games that they're creating. But they have come up with the AI tools that will enable anybody who has there's maybe just a player on Roblox that has no engineering programming knowledge, and enable them to create a game with a prompt. And they're testing this first for at least a couple of months. And New Zealand is the first place that will get it.
Wow.
And so they're going to look at what the patterns are for creation in New Zealand, and then try to draw some lessons from that. I think their initial efforts are going to be free, but at some point, if you start creating a lot of slop, or if you just create a lot of masterpieces, you will pay more, for use of the tool, I guess, right? So, and I think that might be based on generative AI token economics, right? And that like the more you use something that pings AI servers, you're using up a finite resource, and so then you can run up quite a large bill if you create one game after another with no, if you're doing that for free, then it can run a pretty high bill for somebody like Roblox. So at some point they're going to kick in with a fee, but they haven't said what that is yet. And so they're going to be testing these things, right? So.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I think one of the among the commentary that I'd seen around this was people saying, "Oh, okay, this is going to be the Roblox mobile tool for me to create Roblox games with," and then like, "Oh, I didn't know it was going to be a prompting tool." Right. So this is a vibe coding tool, right? And it will remain to be seen what comes out of this. There's certainly going to be a lot of content that comes into the space, flooding into the space here. So we'll have to see what the output of that is going to be. But just interesting times is all I can say. But I think I'd like to play around with it too, just to see what it's about.
Yeah, we had a lot of negative news lately too, and there was something I saw in the news this week of a bright spot, which is report from Drake Star Partners about how financing and M&A went in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And it turns out there were 10 brand new game funds that were started in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote about a few of them, like say V Games was starting a project financing fund for $10 million. And then Griffin has $100 million project financing fund for indies. And then there were some big ones as well, like Shamrock and Kensei Capital. Kensei was $500 million. And so, they're going after very different kinds of investments there. But this does mean that, there's still money coming into the game industry. And I was not seeing announcements like this probably for a good year and a half.
Yeah.
Right? And so these new funds mean that people still believe in the investment potential of games. And they're much needed now at a time when so many studios are, looking for money and are finding just a dry environment out there. So it's a bit of hopeful news for gaming.
Yeah, and it seems like where they're leaning into is, which we talked about this before, so much of the funding that was coming into the space were for very big swings, for very big either audiences or long, very large properties take a long time to develop. So it feels like a lot of the money that's coming in now is, placing a whole lot more bets with smaller amounts of money across a wider, array of things, which is great. And this leans into some of the things we've talked about for the past couple of years here. And we know friends like, Richard Brown have talked about as well at events like DICE, where how do we get back to, or how do we kind of pull back into the middle, sustainable development, smaller teams, shorter cycles, less upfront capital that's required to get it out there and place a whole lot more bets to surface brand new long-term franchises and things like that, right? So the money is there, and it's coming back right into the space. So that is a very positive thing to see. Really,
Denmu was another one I read about that has a $50 million fund for equity investments in game companies. So yeah, it's encouraging.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. Well, there was another interesting article that came up here since we're talking about funding and revenue and things of that nature. And this was found over on gamesindustry.biz, which was EA removes microtransactions from EA Sports College Football 27 following backlash. Developer says it missed the mark by introducing a paid progression options ranging from $9.99 to $149.99.
Mm-hmm.
So
sounds like something you would do in a mobile game, right?
It does. It does. I think one of the interesting comments here was Mitch Lasky. Oh, actually, I don't know if it was in this one. I did see it out there where he said, like the Gen Xers and millennials, they are the 40 for 40 crowd, right? 40 hours for my $40. Like, that's the way they kind of grew up with those types of games in these spaces. And so when you take something where people have been kind of oriented to paying that way and trying new models, right, it can cause some consternation or confusion there, right? These games are still incredibly expensive to make, right? And there's a whole lot of moving parts and people that are part of the revenue outflow, which is correct, right? The players, especially at the college level, it's great to see college level players being paid for their likeness and things like that, right? So, I just thought it was an interesting one that, they brought out that way and then they made that reversal to go ahead and correct for this, right? So it's wild times out there. I have another one for you too, Dean. And of course, how could I not bring this one up? Why releasing games on the web could be right for your studio in 2026. And so, it just seems every year or two we get these articles that, and this sentiment that keeps reemerging, right? That, the browser is amazing, right? In which to go in and deliver games. What I find really interesting, Dean, though, is when you look at the AI world, and people building their applications, right, and showing all this stuff. Where do like 90% of them appear? On a web page. I built this great thing, this tool, this thing that I can now go ahead and play. Where is it? Oh, you play it right in the browser. It's like, yeah, we've been screaming about this for decades, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that this is continuing to gain momentum and steam. No pun intended there, Val. Right? And I think,
And the browsers are getting better at supporting 3D graphics, right? And
well, you're right. Well, this is the thing that we've known for a while.
Sophisticated games that can be done on the browser.
100%. I mean, look, not for nothing, and not certainly for to dive deep into this, but in a prior life, building a prior thing, we were doing, and this was something that Mark and I were working on quite a number of years ago, and we were pushing Unreal 4 games into a browser, and they just ran. What was the kind of punch out type of game, but it was all medieval on iOS. Infinity Blade. We were using those packs that Epic had released and basically putting avatars in there and then going ahead and pushing it out through what's called an scripted pipeline. Guess what? It just ran on a Mac, it ran on a PC, it ran on Linux, right inside the browser as fast as your machine could crank it out. So the good thing is that, all this means that there's just more options now than ever before for people to get their content out, to get their art out and find an audience, right? So all good positive stuff.
Awesome. We're gonna run low on time for these discussions, but
let's go.
I'm gonna mention 4. You can choose which one you want to drill into a bit, but
we're going to speed run these. Go.
Yeah, my friend Mark Chandler dug out a 28-year-old copy of StarCraft that he had not opened and was signed by the entire development team of around 30 people. And he posted this on Reddit and said, "Hey, is this worth anything? Anybody want this?" And then he has like more than 500,000 views on that particular post now.
Yes,
and it's just it's funny. I don't know if I had one of those, but I never did really think about keeping things for a long time.
Yeah,
but
I had a Diablo 2 signed by almost the whole team, and then eventually let it go. Which one is that? American.
Check this out. This is American Caper. It is Dan Houser's new comic book, right?
Oh.
And it's his first comic book, first one that's come out from his new company. And so I'm thinking, if I hang on to this for 28 years, maybe. It's because it's signed by Dan, right? So
very cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have one of my own signed things here. See where that goes. But yeah,
I mean, Dean, I've got these magazines from 1982, not signed and completely, falling apart. So you know where the value is, Dean? Right here in the heart. That's where the value is. Go ahead. What's your next
people
one?
Love this stuff. Let's see. Okay. Glenn Schofield is retiring.
Yeah.
First person shooter pioneer, Call of Duty guy, Dead Space, Callisto Protocol. Glenn has decided after 36 years, he is he's hanging it up. And so I think he's tried to dabble in different kinds of things, like AI games and starting new studios, and he's also doing a lot of his own artwork at galleries. So congratulations to Glenn for sticking with games for all that time.
Yeah, and for bringing some incredible experiences to all of us. And I remember, Dean, do you remember the first Dead Space commercials where it was the mothers of gamers? Do you remember this one?
I don't remember that one.
They had a camera. They had a monitor facing a chair, and they would bring the mom of a gamer in, and so it was just filming their reactions to what was on the screen, and you just see them going, "Oh my!" like in horror, like recoiling. They never showed the game, but it was just like the moms of gamers reacting to what was on the screen. It's like, you want this game? Look what it did to your mom, basically.
That's good.
All right, what's your next one?
Another one. Virtua Fighter Crossroads is going to show up on NVIDIA's new computer, the RTX Spark. which is an AI computer. And this is happening in a deal with Sega, which in Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, he visited Japan this week and he gave this talk and announced this deal. And they had different Sega people there, like Irimajiri-san from who was back then the CEO of Sega more than 30 years ago. And what Sega had done back then was they had hired NVIDIA to make the graphics chip for the Dreamcast, right?
Yep.
And this prototype that they created fell short. Like it wasn't performing at high enough a level for them to use it. And so Sega, basically ended the contract with NVIDIA. But they said, we'll make the final payment, right? And so even though NVIDIA, maybe would have did not really perform as expected, they gave them $5 million, and that turned into enough money to get their next chip out, the Revo 128, which was highly successful, and then also the GeForce 256 chip. So Sega basically saved NVIDIA from bankruptcy. 30 years ago, and now they're putting their games on NVIDIA's sort of next interesting bet of an AI computer.
That's
like
amazing.
A supercomputer worth of AI in basically a home machine, right? So
in the I found that article here. There were several that were written in. They said by the mid 1990s, NVIDIA had 30 days of cash left. And Jensen basically flew to Japan to admit the failure, and he told Irimajiri-san that, look, the money is going to be lost if you put it in here, and he's like, that's okay, it's too important. And the Revo 120, I bought that, and I bought when the GeForce 256 came out. I was like, what? This thing's unbelievable. 800 by 600. That's amazing, right? Oh, here was the best and saddest. Sega, unfortunately, well, it's not the best, right? It's actually a little heartbreaking. It's that Sega, as they started to fall in some financial times, they sold their stake for $15 million. So they made a 3x return. But I mean, who would have known, all this time? But it's a good thing to remember, is that it's still about people. The business that we do, the things that we do, right? It's still about the people, and still about, about being honest and about being decent and about leaning to help where you can, right? And so I love that whole story of two companies helping each other out like that. That was really extraordinary.
And Sega, had they kept that, would have had hundreds of billions of dollars from it.
We're not going to. We don't want to,
Last thing I wanted to bring up was there's a new season of Battlefield 6 out, season 4. It has naval gameplay, and then what they've done with that is they're returning to the Wake Island map, which was the popular map of Battlefield 1942. So it's kind of funny to see that happening, and I think a lot of people will be happy to dive back into Battlefield and play that map.
Oh yeah. Especially when people go, oh my goodness, I remember how small and quaint the map is now compared to. I mean, do you remember when you first played Battlefield 1942?
Oh yeah.
Right.
I really got a kick out of that, and you're traveling down Wake Island, which is like a crescent-shaped island, and it's so narrow at some points. You're going like, is this really an island?
Right.
A real island.
Exactly. Back when it was in beta, friend of ours, Tom Ham, who lived in the Northern Virginia area where I did, we threw a couple of big LAN parties, and we rented a conference room at the Sheridan in Reston, Virginia, and we had about 30 people that showed up. And Tom, of course, worked his magic, and with our friends in the industry, we had donation of games that came in and shirts and swag. So everybody got a bunch of swag that they left with. Everybody put $50 in. We came in with big ass CRTs and full tower machines, and we basically set up this huge room with a network, and we were playing the beta of Battlefield 1942. and we just could not believe it. The best part about it, though, was that we told everyone you couldn't wear headphones. So it was 30 some odd players with speakers playing for more than 24 hours straight. It sounded like a war zone in the lobby of this Chevron. So, you know, like the night staff would come in like, what the hell is going on in here? And it's just everybody playing this game. And oh my goodness, what incredible fond memories. Just love it. Just love it. Well, there's another story you all did that I think is one I'm really looking forward to experiencing, Dean. And this is from Rachel Kaiser. Netflix's latest game is mini golf, starring 3 of its biggest shows. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting in and playing some mini golf in these different scenarios. Right? Have you seen the game at all, or?
No, I haven't. I've actually been playing something else that just arrived, which is Halo Campaign Evolved, the remake, right?
Yeah,
so we get to talk about what is actually in the game now.
Sorry about that.
On July 28th. But meanwhile, I've got a copy of it and was playing a lot of it last night. So I'm a happy guy right now.
That's awesome. So, I haven't had the chance to play a whole lot of anything. I've been traveling a lot right now for work, and so I haven't really had a chance to go ahead and dig in. Although I am going back and trying to play through Cyberpunk, which I never finished. So I'm going back and doing that. And then I downloaded No Man's Sky for the Switch 2. And I'm like, all right, let me dig back into that. I'm some, light, quick to jump into games, Dean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not playing much more than that right now, but I'll have definitely more to share next week. And then, of course, next week, we are going to have the CEO of the ESA. Stanley is going to be joining us here on Boss Rush, and we'll have more information, details that I'll go ahead and post out to LinkedIn well ahead of that, so you can make sure you get it on your calendar. But Dean, thank you so much, buddy, for getting in here today for another live stream of Boss Rush. And thanks everybody that went ahead and joined us today. Please tell your friends, go ahead and repost, put comments. Let's go ahead and spread the love, make the community bigger, and get in here and talk about video games every Friday. We love doing this. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day and an awesome weekend. And we'll see you next week on Boss Rush. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for doing this on 2 hours of sleep.
Yes, on 2 hours of sleep. That's exactly right. Yeah. See you, Dean.